We've been here before. This is the fourth year in a row that thousands of servicemen and women face an anxious wait to find out the future of their military careers. Most of those in a redundancy field should have been told in person that their job is at risk this morning. A few hours later, the Defence Secretary announced the details to the House of Commons.
I can confirm that the overall number of redundancies required is considerably lower than that predicted in a number of recent press articles and lower than in each of the three previous tranches. It will comprise up to 1,425 members of the Army and up to 70 medical and dental officers and nurses from the Royal Air Force and up to 10 from the Royal Navy.
Around 5,400 people are being considered for these 1,500 redundancies, almost all of them in the Army. One place the axe will fall once more, the Brigade of Gurkhas. There, 350 people will be made redundant. The government says it's become overmanned, but that hundreds of Gurkhas have already successfully transferred to other parts of the Army. Although the RAF and Royal Navy finished their big redundancy programmes 2 years ago, 80 medical and dental jobs from those two services will have to go. It's all part of the government's money-saving drive and refocusing of what forces personnel do.
Will the Secretary of State accept that this government has let down the armed forces and their families?
I say it is Labour, through their wrecking of our economy, that has let down our armed forces as they've let down the rest of this country.
And while the Defence Secretary promised this is the last set of redundancies stemming from the 2010 Defence Review, he said he couldn't predict what would be in the next Defence Review. More instability potentially for forces' families in little more than 2 years.
I think nobody's really going to be complacent enough to think that there might not be redundancies in the future.
There is, for some people though, several months of uncertainty ahead. How do you think that is going to affect those members of the forces and their families?
Well, I can tell you myself, fortunately I know that we're not in a tranche this time, but for the last two tranches my husband has been in those tranches. It's a pretty miserable experience. The good thing is that only 10% of the Army will find themselves in that situation. The last tranche, over 25% of the Army were in that very miserable situation of being in a tranche. So at least it's small numbers, but of course it's a very personal thing and going to be very difficult for families that don't want to leave the Army.
For most in the forces, today has told them their future is secure, at least for the next few years. But for more than 5,000, there is now an anxious wait until decisions on who stays and who goes are announced in the summer.